Hello. I thought I would talk about Singapore as a dyspraxic, only because I'm dyspraxic. So basically I'm going to talk about Singapore. Ooh, this won't tie up. I wanted to mention something before I start. Where can that go? I don't have any clips. Which is, yesterday I had some bad news, alhamdulillah. So I'm going through a significant life event. And the only reason I want to mention that is not because I'm going to talk about it. It's because whatever you see of somebody, whether it's a photo or a video or you see them in person, did you actually ask them if they're okay? Did you ask them? Do you have the space to ask them? Because I know a lot of people don't, but you know, things can happen which can really deeply affect somebody, and that's not really visible, is it? So you can ask them if you feel like you can ask them how they are, even if they're smiling. Most people don't ask me, you know. So I think in our culture, there's a surface level to a lot of interactions. That's a bit sad to me. Oops. Oh, there's a cat in my garden. Excuse me, what are you doing? Hey! Staring at me now. Go! The only reason I feel like cats are not allowed in the garden is because my parents used to try and chase cats out of their garden. I think, isn't it because they frighten the birds? We don't want them to frighten the birds. I don't know, but these cats are so bold, you can't frighten them off. Right, I'm on 2.5 minutes and I haven't said anything yet. Singapore, I'm going to begin. I didn't love it. It's very interesting. I have a really, really amazing close friend who I've lost touch with, unfortunately, who is Singaporean. And I met her before I went to Singapore. She was one of my classmates in my Japanese class at university, and she's so hilarious and like very what's the word, kind of like deadpan. She would say really funny things but with a very straight face. I don't know if she was like kind of accidentally being hilarious, you know, or if she was like, that was like her humour that she did it that way, but she was really cool. So I hope I can get back in touch with her at some point soon. So anyway, I suppose I had it in my head something about Singapore and just a bit of a fondness towards Singapore before I went there. But I kind of ended up there by accident because I was applying for 2 different jobs, and I was in the interview process for 2 jobs at the same point of my life, where one was in Corsica, which is some kind of amazing, I've never been, but because I didn't accept that job in the end because of the timing. So I think it's a kind of beautiful, amazing nature, you know, naturally beautiful site and island, and they speak French, which I was interested in. Well, I am still interested in it. And then I was also, so I was applying for one job there and being interviewed for it, and then I was also applying for a job in Singapore and being interviewed for it. But the interview for the Singapore job came up first, and it was basically like, do you like hot weather? I was like, yeah. And it was kind of like, fine, here's the job. But having said that, like, I had all the qualifications, and it was a video interview. She did ask me other questions. I'm kind of kidding, but not. So it wasn't a very taxing interview, but I got the job without having to go through a lot of hoops. But I'd already completed the qualifications that I needed to qualify for the job. So I'm not trying to put myself down, you know. I was offered that job and I was a bit torn over like, it didn't feel really perfect. The interview for the Corsica job was in London, and the interview was really difficult, and I had to be interviewed about some, like, my level of French, which I thought was quite good, but it wasn't good enough for that interview because we had some paperwork. It was like there was sort of, what do you call it? You know when there's some kind of written parts of the interview, and it was asking me things about, like, let's say if I was working in a hotel, because it was a kind of role where I would be working in tourism, so parts of it would be based in one of the hotels, and it was asking me things like in French about you know, where can I find the potato peeler and like get out a large pan for the potatoes or something. It was quite specific, and I'd never come across any of that vocabulary, so nevertheless I did get offered that job, but after I'd already accepted the Singapore one, because, you know, you don't want to sort of like, well, I don't know, I suppose I just wanted to accept the job because I'd been offered it. I decided to accept the Singapore job. Then I got offered the Corsica job afterwards, and I felt like really crap because I was like, oh, that would have been so much better. But everything happens for a good reason. And yeah. So Singapore, oh gosh, I'm taking a long time to... This might be a longer video because I'm on 6 minutes and I still haven't said anything about Singapore. Hope you're feeling like listening to me jabber on today. Looks like I'm in that kind of mood of taking a while to get to the point. So, maybe it's because I'm emotional. Singapore is very hot. She was right. She said to me on the interview, do you like hot weather? She was right. When I got there, I couldn't like walk. I couldn't actually walk down the street. It was really weird. It was like, but I got used to it within about 3 days. So I suppose the body is just very adaptable, isn't it? Human body is adaptable because, yeah, I like hot weather, and I thought, yeah, fine, I love hot weather, it'd be fine. But it's like that humid heat, you know, if you've been in that kind of environment or live in that environment. It's not a dry heat, which I'd experienced in France. I think France was probably the hottest place I'd been before that. South of France is fairly hot, but it's nowhere near that. And it's a different feeling. And I used to wear makeup at that point, like Benefit, some kind of like tinted moisturiser and mascara and stuff like that, and it just slid off. Like, I put some makeup on, and then I tried to walk out of the place. Come to think of it, I must have... No, it was more than 3 days, because that was when I'd already found my accommodation. Because at the beginning... Oh my goodness, I'm going all over the place, but you'll just see what I'm like when I'm emotional, I suppose, so it's realistic, isn't it? When I arrived, it was so, like, a bit kind of random and, like, insecure, like, how it felt to arrive there. So, like, I arrived in Singapore with my suitcase, and then this big woman met me, and I think she was Australian, I'm pretty sure she was. The company that I worked for was run by Australians as well. Well, I mean, I said it was run by them, it was set up by them. So there were quite a few Australians working in the management roles as well. That was nice. She met me at the airport, but it was like so kind of like... she kind of had that attitude, like she just kind of like turned up. She wasn't there on time. I got there before her, so it was like turned up across the world because I come from England, and then came out of the airport and there was no one there to meet me. It's a little bit scary. A little bit of panic for like 20 minutes or so, and then she was there and she was just kind of like, hi. It's like so casual. Oh my goodness, I'm kind of getting this like tension in my tummy just thinking about it now. I mean, I wasn't terrified, but I had some kind of like panic of like, what on earth am I doing? What's going on? There's no one to meet me, and like, what, you know, am I okay? I was okay, but she just kind of like randomly, can't really remember it, but whether she got in the taxi with me, I think she got in the taxi with me. And they put you in a hotel for a few days. Can't remember if it was a week. And during that time you need to find your accommodation, so it's kind of like pressure. And you were dropped across the other side of the world, of course, so I'd never been to that specific country before. I'd been to Asia before, but not Singapore, and it's very, very different from Japan and Korea, which I'd been to. And I'd been, yeah, Japan, Korea, yeah, I'd been to. I think that was it. Because I went to some other places like afterwards, I went to Malaysia from Singapore because it's right next to it. It's kind of like there. It's almost like the same place. Hope I don't offend anyone by saying that. But what I'm trying to say is it's geographically close. So, arrived, went to the hotel, mosquitoes bit me, stayed in that place for a few days, and then I was in my accommodation, which I managed to find. Because you have to, I was under pressure, but you got this like, your accommodation was funded. So as part of the salary, I was working as a teacher, they gave you extra money, which you could use for your accommodation. So you could choose whether you used all of it for your accommodation, get something a bit posh, or what I did was I actually got a cheaper accommodation and then had more income. So that's pretty cool. I like that kind of flexibility too. You know, when you're like, perks, and then you can choose how to get the most out of those. So, So what I'm trying to say is that I'd been there for quite a few days, but I remember that when I was in my accommodation and then put makeup on and tried to like walk down the street to see like where I was and get used to the area that I'd just moved into this like flat, and my makeup slid off. I just remember that really vividly because it was such a bizarre thing. I didn't expect it. So I think I had to kind of give up wearing makeup quite soon after that. While I was there. Because you kind of just get like, you perspire. My grandma always used to say, ladies don't sweat, they perspire. So ladies definitely perspire in Singapore. And I don't normally perspire. This is getting a bit personal. I don't normally perspire. I don't know if it's like if I don't breathe properly or something, but like I don't usually get sweaty, so don't usually get that experience even when I'm exercising. So it was quite noticeable to me. So yeah, Singapore food-wise, amazing. Food courts. They have these thing called food courts. Oh, the breakfast. Oh, yeah. Right, okay, so where do I start? I don't know, I've got loads of things to say about this now. I'm just getting into the memories of it and it's making me feel really happy because I'm thinking about food and drinks. And by the way, I'm not a drinker. Alcoholic. I'm not a drinker of alcohol, which is lucky because it's very expensive in Singapore to drink alcohol compared to how much it costs over here. So that's a warning for you if you're gonna, or maybe it's not a warning, maybe it's kind of handy for you if you want to go up, then go to Singapore, then you'll be too skint to drink anyway, so that'll ease you out of the habit maybe. Now it just sounds like I'm being disrespectful to people that are addicted to alcohol. Right, I think I'm a bit of a mess today. Let's see if you still love me anyway. Food courts. They have, so you don't have to really eat at home. You can eat at home. I did eat at home a little bit, but I'm not a great cook because of my dyspraxia. Or should I say I'm a terrible cook? Yeah, that's more realistic. And you can eat out, so it's not a problem. And you could eat out like this. How long ago was I there? Let me just work this out. I should work these things out before I start on the topic because then it annoys me to be on the spot and think, ooh, get pins and needles in my toes suddenly. How many years ago was I in Singapore? 2009. How long ago is that? 15 years? I'm gonna go for 15 years, I think. Might have been 2009. So, food. You could eat out for like £2 a meal. And they have this really cool thing, right? And imagine like, imagine like all these sections like that. And it's like in the food counter and you go up to them and then you just like point out what you want and then they make it into a soup for you. Can't remember what that's called, but like they have these kind of like set types of meals and it's like all around the edge of the food court. If you're familiar with food court, you think, why are you explaining this? But like to me as a British person, this was the first time I'd seen this setup because they didn't used to have them over here then. So you could go up to the counter and just be like, bit of that, bit of that, bit of that, and then they make it all into a soup. It's absolutely delicious. That's dead good. And then they had like fish and chips would be one of the things, except that for some reason they served the baked beans cold. Don't do that. Singaporeans, please stop. And that was very upsetting. Traumatised by that. Oh, the tea. Oh wait, no, I need to tell you about the Indian food, right? I don't know if it's Bangladeshi or Indian, but oh, it's so gorgeous. Murtabak. Have you heard of this thing? I used to eat this all the time. It's called chicken murtabak, and it's some kind of amazing, like a paratha. It's like folded over there, and it's got chicken curry inside it. Oh, it's so delicious. And then the tea, they do this thing, because I'm a big tea drinker. I have to tell this story. So like when I first went to a food court in Singapore, then I went up to the counter and tried to order a cup of tea. And they speak English in Singapore, but it's called Singlish, and it's not the same as English. It is the same, but it's not the same. So they didn't understand me. So when I went, and I'm not being patronising, this is like the difference in the language, it's quite marked. So if I just turned up and talked in my normal voice, which is what I tried to do, obviously, they wouldn't understand me. And Singlish is like I think it's classed as a dialect. It's not a language, but it is quite different to English, and it's quite strong, and there's like certain ways that they say things, and it's like it's an accent as well. And by the way, now I'm just going off on all these tangents. I want to go off on so many tangents at once today, but there's like, I think there's 4 main languages in Singapore, and they're all widely spoken. So every sign that you see is in English, Mandarin, Tamil, and Malay. Yeah. Because I guess those are the most spoken, but there's other populations as well, so it's quite a multicultural place. Oh my goodness, so many topics I want to go into separately. Let's get back to the cup of tea topic. So I went up to the counter, and then I said something like, please can I have a cup of tea? And they were like, because they kind of like do this like, sometimes they do this kind of like shouty voice, and they sounded really annoyed at me because they didn't understand what I was saying, so I was like, tea. English people are like so awkwardly polite, so I was still in that really awkwardly polite phase. Like I hadn't got this directness that I have now. Now I'm more confident, because this was a while ago. I wasn't self-confident at that point. Oh, maybe I was with some things, but not with speaking. For all the reasons that you know about if you've watched my videos. So yeah, tea. I was like, tea, please. And they were like, huh? It was like shouting at me because they just found it so irritating that they couldn't understand what I was ordering. The woman just, and then she was like talking to her friend, those 2 women on the store, basically like, what the F's this woman trying to order? And they were both looking at each other, and I was like, because I think when I first ordered it, I went up to them and was like, please could I have a cup of tea? You know, in kind of like a very British way, and then they were just like, what? And then eventually they got that I wanted a cup of tea, and they're like, oh, tea! Like the way they said it was just slightly different to me, but because it was slightly different, they couldn't understand the way I was saying it, which I understand that. That's happened to me in other countries as well. I remember once in Germany, I was at the till and I was buying something, and then I wanted it back, and I said, and you know when you're at the till in Germany, they were already doing that thing in Germany where they didn't give you a plastic carrier bag because they were saving the environment, which like England caught onto that years later, like a decade later, of like, we're not just going to give everyone a carrier bag, you have to bring your own. But in Germany they were doing that thing, so I didn't bring a bag. I was in Germany, then I'd been like, eine Tüte or something. I was trying to ask for a bag, but I said it wrong. I got that reaction there as well. And then eventually when the cashier said like the word for bag in German, it sounded the same to me, but I must have been just saying it wrong. So sometimes you have to say things so correctly to be understood. I understand that as well. Like I can appreciate that. So these Singaporeans, they weren't really trying to be rude to me or anything, but they literally just couldn't tell what I was saying, and it was very irritating to them. So I was ordering tea, then eventually got the tea. Then they make the tea. It's so cool. It's like teh tarik. I don't know how you pronounce that properly, but it's like a pull. They like get 2 things and then they like pour it. I can't do this because of the angle, but there's like pour it. and it makes it frothy. I can't like do the action on the camera because it's not wide enough. So they like pour it from there to there, and then they pour it from there. So they got like a cup in each hand, and then it ends up like making it all mix, and then it's really sweet as well. It tastes, the first time you drink it, if you're English and you haven't had it before, it's absolutely disgusting. But then if you like me, then you like it. Then yeah, I mean, you'll like try it a few times, and then you just absolutely love it. It's so gorgeous because they use condensed milk. That must be so old school over here. Like condensed milk, that's something my grandma and granddad used to like use on their desserts and stuff. But in Singapore, they still, as far as I know, to this day, they use it in their tea. And another thing you can buy is, well, it's the same, but it's just so funny. You can buy a bag of tea. I wonder what the idea is. I think they're just trying to save packaging. So it's like a plastic bag, but it's got tea in it, so you can't put it down because it's a bag. You know, like if you imagine like a goldfish in a bag, but it's a bag of tea, and then you hang it. It's got like a little, what's it? That's cool. I think it had a straw. So funny, isn't it? It was quite funny. So tea, yeah, tea is another nice thing you can get from the food court. And you could get the fish and chips, but the beans were cold. You could get that soup with all the different ingredients. And you can get like Malay food. Obviously it's next to Malaysia, so you could get some kind of really amazing traditional, or should I say typical Malay food. You could get like, what's that thing? I think it might be just called chicken and rice or something. There's some kind of like traditional Singaporean meal that you could get anywhere, which I think was just something like chicken and rice. Sorry if that's not it. It'll come back to me as soon as I finish the video probably. What else do you used to be able to get? Oh yeah, the breakfast. They have this thing called kaya toast. Can't remember what it is now, but it's green. And you can have it for breakfast. The breakfast is so yum. I love breakfast. I'm a big fan of breakfast. And you could just go out for some kind of really tasty breakfast. I think there's something to do with eggs as well. Yeah, but the annoying thing for me, by the way, I haven't really linked this to dyspraxia, have I? But just because I'm just saying what comes into my head and then saying it straight away, because I've explained in my other videos, I don't have a working memory and I can't really plan these things out, like my videos in advance, because otherwise it'll just never happen because it's too complex for me to do that. Kaya toast, breakfast, yummy, very nice. Food is good. Fruit, yeah, you can get really nice fruit in Singapore. It's good. Oh yeah, and I had bananas from the Philippines, and they taste so much nicer than the bananas taste over here. Where do bananas come from if you buy them in England? I feel a bit like I feel like I've got some kind of vague idea that they come from Puerto Rico or something, but I think I just might have made that up. But the Filipino bananas, I guess they can't get them all the way to England or whatever restrictions there are, because I've never had those here and they taste so like 100 times tastier. It's really good. Right, now it's just alerted me on my phone that it's the prayer time, Asr. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. Can't believe I just said wrap this up. And this is feeling really weird because it's a new length of video. It's not 10 minutes, but it's not 30 minutes. It's going to be like 25, but only if I talk for a minute and a half more. Uncomfortable. See if I can summarise before I go. Singapore. Yeah, I know I said at the beginning I didn't like it that much, but there was some really good things about it. And it's very fun. And Singaporeans are really cool. They're so hilarious. I love Singaporean people. And I met a lot of really great children there as well because I was teaching, so alhamdulillah, I'm really blessed. And I'll always cherish those memories. Yeah, so that is my video for today. Thank you.